Bill number 3 is in the name of Deputy Fiona O'Loughlin, and that's to the Minister for Communications, Climate Action and Environment to discuss the reassurances sought for the Board and Móna workforce in Kildare. Deputy, you have 4 minutes for an initial statement. Thank you very much,
Cathaoirleach. Can I say at the start that I am a bog woman and I'm very proud of it. I come from the heart of the Bog of Allen. Well, I was just about to say that I know you're very proud of your own roots as well too, Minister, and there's plenty of bog in Roscommon. And I could not overestimate the importance of Board and Móna to Kildare on many different levels, in terms of the heritage of the bog, in terms of the ecological system there, of horticulture, and of course the economic employment that it has provided over the last 80 years. And only last week I was at a meeting of Rathangan Tidy Towns where we were talking about actually celebrating the heritage and the employment that Board and Móna brought, in terms of all of the families that have grown up in our area and around, Timahoe, Kilberry, Caldove, Allenwood, people that came from other parts of Ireland to get jobs settled, and their families have very much become part of the whole area. And indeed, our own Rathangan poet, William A. Byrne, has written many poems about the bog, and I'll just give you 4 lines. I was the broom and crooked heather, I was the moss that grew, but time has moulded us together beneath the years of dew. Now, I absolutely accept that Board and Móna is operating in a challenging environment, but we also have to look at ensuring the company's long-term viability. And not alone is it a challenging business environment, but obviously it's a company that's in transition. And at this point in time, Board and Móna supply peat to the 3 Midland power stations. And I understand that Edenderry has, in terms of the carbon neutral initiatives, has brought down by 40% the element of peat, but crucially has maintained the same number of jobs. So, Minister, I suppose one of the things that I want to say to you is I want to ask you if you support co-fuelling, because certainly that would seem to make sense, and if you also continue to support a managed transition up to 2030, because again that's very important, because while any company or firm is in transition and has the opportunity to look at new businesses, that's very, very important. We got word both yesterday evening and this morning that there were going to be job losses. Now, I understand from lunchtime today that there are going to be 45 job losses in 10 different locations. The ones I do know about in Kildare are 7 in Newbridge and 4 in Lullymore. Sometime I'd love to invite you down to the Lullymore Heritage Centre, which is actually very close to where Board and Móna are, just to show you what a wonderful job they have done in relation to celebrating the bog and its importance. But of more important matters now, going back to those jobs, obviously for some people, if they're at a stage in their lives where it suits them to take a redundancy or to leave, that's fine, but there are very, very many who would not be in that position, and I would call for absolute consultation in relation to those, and I would also call for a commitment in relation to sustaining the other jobs that are in County Kildare at this point. Oh, I have 30 more seconds on this one. Okay, one of the things that I feel is very important also, and myself and my colleague Deputy Barry Cowen have been calling for, is for funding being raised under the carbon tax to be ring-fenced and reinvested in renewable energy technology. And this would certainly give Board and Móna a future and ensured the continued sustainable employment in Kildare and in the Midlands.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister, you have 4 minutes to reply.
Thank you, and can I thank Deputy O'Loughlin for raising this important issue. I'm not going to recite poetry, but I have to declare an interest that I've been eaten out of the bog by midges on many, many occasions, and my own village where I was born is surrounded by bog. And hated every day I spent in the bog, by the way, as well. But anyway, first of all, Board and Móna employs about 450 people in County Kildare, and the company has a long association with the county, which historically centred on peat harvesting operations across the bogs in the north and the west of the county. The 450 Kildare-based employees are located in a number of different centres, including the company's head office, which has been located in Newbridge since 1994. The head office provides the location of most of the group's central support services. It also houses many of the business unit headquarters, including those for the fuels business, horticulture business and resource recovery business. The resource recovery business headquarters also incorporates a call centre for AES waste collection business. The other significant Bord na Móna centres across the county include the horticulture facility at Kilberry, the resource recovery facility at Dread, the peat harvesting operations across a number of different bogs. Outside of the fuels business, none of these areas are affected by yesterday's decision. It should be noted the decision does not affect approximately 120 people who are involved in the manufacture of the company's peat briquettes at Derrenloch in County Offaly. Of the 450 people employed across County Kildare, yesterday's decision by the company to cease operations in its coal business will affect 11 employees. Of this number, 7 employees are located in Newbridge and 4 at the convenience fuel facilities at Lullymore. The company is now engaging with the affected employees and will be consulting with them on the possible outcomes, including redeployment. The company informed the employees yesterday of the decision to exit the coal business for a number of commercial and regulatory reasons. And as you know, Deputy, Bord na Móna is a commercial semi-state company, and while operational matters are the responsibility of the board and the management team, and matters that are not directly under my responsibility of function, nonetheless I am acutely conscious of the impact of the recent decision has on the employees within Bord na Móna. I understand that the underlying reason for the move away from coal formed part of the company's transition away from its traditional business activities towards a business model that is sustainable in the longer term. And that includes the co-firing of the peat-fired power stations, not only in Edenderry but in Lanesborough and Shannonbridge. And to answer your question, do I support that? Yes, I do. In fact, I was down at the public consultation days, both in Shannonbridge, in the parochial hall there, and in St Mary's Hall in Lanesborough, where we're engaging with the community, explaining to them what we're planning to do to transition out of peat over the next decade or so and transition into biomass. And my priority as Minister is to ensure that that biomass production is generated and grown as close as possible to those 3 peat-fired power stations. The intention is to try and maintain and hopefully enhance the existing employment levels within Bord na Móna. I'm acutely conscious of the employment levels in Bord na Móna right across the Midland counties, from East Galway, Roscommon, Laois, Offaly, Westmeath, right over into Kildare. And I am determined as Minister to put a sustainable transition in place and to maintain the maximum possible numbers of employees in the areas that they're currently employed. And by moving to biomass, it's the same type of skill set, same type of equipment will be used to actually bring that biomass into the peat-fired power stations.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy, you have 2 minutes for a supplementary statement.
Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach, and I am reassured by what the Minister has said in relation to his commitment for sustaining jobs for those in Bord na Móna, because as he has acknowledged, and I have mentioned earlier, that many of our smaller towns and villages in Kildare and in the Midlands owe their whole development to Bord na Móna, and there are many families out there who continue to depend on the continued viability of Bord na Móna. 450 jobs in one county is huge, you know, when we think about it, within Kildare, and I know, Cathaoirleach, that you would share my concern also. This is not the first time that you and I have spoken in the Chamber about Bord na Móna, because last year I raised issues with you in relation to Kilberry and problems that they were experiencing, and at the time, Minister, you kindly agreed that there would be a meeting with the then Bord na Móna CEO, Mike Quinn. A meeting did happen. Unfortunately, Mr Quinn didn't actually come to that meeting, but I understand that there is a new CEO, Tom Donlan, starting on the 18th of April. And could I ask your good offices to ensure that a meeting could happen with the Dáil deputies and senators from those counties that are impacted. I think it would be good to have a meeting at an early start into Mr Donlan's tenure to assure him of our support and also to raise the concerns that we have for the individuals that we support within our counties. And also, again, just to go back to that issue of ring-fencing carbon tax, would there be a possibility that you could see your way to making a commitment in relation to that? Gaurav Maga, I thank you for your time and your positive response, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. 2 minutes for a concluding statement.
First of all, look, the new CEO has to come into place, and I will be having the same conversation with the new CEO that I had with his predecessors. And for me, it is a priority to maintain job numbers right across the Midlands. And I've made that crystal clear. And as we transition away from fossil fuels into sustainable forms of fuel, that is a priority for me. That's why I was determined as Minister to establish Bord na Móna Bioenergy, which I believe will probably be the biggest employer of staff across the Midland counties in the years to come. And I'm determined to support the management team in developing that sector of the business. And I'm sure the CEO won't have a difficulty in meeting up with the Oireachtas members from right across the region. In relation to the ring-fencing of carbon tax, that is a matter that will have to be dealt with by the Minister for Finance, and I'm sure it's an issue that can be discussed at the Finance Committee. But can I say that the company is focused on progressing its plan to develop a sustainable business model that will maximise the number of people it employs, not just in County Kildare, but right across the Midlands, right into County Roscommon and County Galway. Many of my own neighbours are seasonal employees with Bord na Móna, so I'm very, very conscious of the impacts in relation to it. And I'm also very conscious of the fact that I think today is the last day of operation of the plant, the briquette plant in Littleton in County Tipperary. And what I want to see now is that site being explored in relation to new business opportunities. And I think we have to look, not just in relation to Bord na Móna, but also in relation to Moneypoint, as they transition out of traditional fossil fuels, that we can put a clear channel in place to a more sustainable future and sustainable long-term jobs in the vicinity of those plants. And I'm determined to try and develop that as long as I'm Minister.
Thank you, Minister. Topical issue number